mom came into the room and she's like, look at my phone. And then I couldn't see it, so I had to look at mine. I'm like, oh.
I can't bet against Tom Brady. I have the Bucks winning 31-27 and Tom Brady going to his 10th championship.
Yeah, and I really think the Clippers' chance to win the championship was last year. And they were up 3-1 against the Denver Nuggets.
Chris Paul is one of the most underrated players of all time. He's been the best player wherever he goes, and that includes with the Rockets.
You said you can't bet against Tom Brady, and as a Cowboys fan and what I just did last weekend, I am not going to bet against Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. I mean, that's all I can really say. There's two of the top 5 players in the league, and they are very, very good.
Hello, I'm Taylor Hearn, and you listen to The Outsiders' Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our NBA Opinions of the Week. We're going to do top 10 NBA players for the first time, I believe, in this show's history. We may have done top 5 once, don't remember, but it's changed since then. I'm Kevin, and the man that's in my top 10, Austin.
You're in my top 2, Kevin.
I appreciate it.
But this was really hard. We were talking about it while we were planning the video out and making our picks. We obviously don't know who the other person has, but it really is tough once you get past 6.
And it's crazy comparing it to our NFL videos where I feel like I'm stacked at when I get to 10. But here I'm like, I really don't have. There are a lot of arguments, I think, for past 5.
Yeah, for me it'd be past 6, but you get to a point where you feel like, do I really want to call him a top 10 player?
Yeah.
I find myself asking that question a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we'll get right into it. I'll say my top 10. This may be a shocker. I think Tyrese Halliburton is a top 10 NBA player.
Wow. I was thinking about it. I really like Tyrese. The only reason why I didn't is because I need to see it over a longer period of time. And the playoffs, the lack thereof really hurt him for me. But my number 10 is Kevin Durant. He still has a lot of intangibles.
Right.
Good shooter. He may be lower than some other people would have him, but I really think the Nuggets series and the fact that Devin Booker dominated, and Booker's not on this list, but
thank you for that. I don't want Kmart Kobe on this list.
But KD was not even the best player on that Suns roster, and while I still think he is one of the best scorers in the league, he definitely moved down my list.
That's fair. He also moved down my list, but yeah, I'll let you say your 9.
So my number 9 is a guy that's been in my top 10 for the last, 18 years or something, LeBron James.
Okay.
I wanted to include him here. He needs to be included here. His performance against the Nuggets in Game 4, even though they lost, really solidified this spot for me. I really was questioning, is he a top 10 player? Is he a top 10 player? Is he a top 10 player? And I decided with yes. Has he struggled with shooting this past year, shooting 32%? Yes, but he shot 50% from the field still, 29, 8, and 7. He still is a top 10 player.
Yes, I agree. I'll get to him in a little bit. But yeah, so I'm very intrigued how this thing goes. Number 9, I have Shai. He's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He's in my top 10. I think he's really going to come onto the scene probably next year when Oklahoma City get to the playoffs. And I think he's just a great guard, all NBA, I'm pretty sure this year, and great defensively, and I think overall a really good player and deserves in the top 10.
Yeah, that's a good pick. Who's your 8?
My 8 is Tatum. This one is, Tatum's really good. I love Tatum. I'm not sure if you have him higher or not, or even in the top 10. I understand. I'm just going to pick Tatum because I think his highs are really good, but it's just not consistent. And the guys above him, I believe in him more, despite some of the 2 guys ahead of him, their injury history.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. I really struggled with this list a good bit. My number 8 is Shai. So you mentioned him at 9. I have him he definitely is a really good player, and him averaging over 30 points and over a steal, over a block, his defensive prowess, I do think is it's extremely impressive, especially with a guy that was traded for Paul George in such a really catastrophic trade now for the Clippers if they don't end up winning a ring.
Yeah, that's a very true. Who's your 7?
My 7 is Jimmy Butler. Butler,
Okay. All
he,
right. Okay.
what he did during the playoffs definitely impressed me, and he has good defense, but I couldn't put him above this. I don't think he is a top 5 player because I think he lacks too much whenever it comes to playmaking. He makes some poor decisions, but he is an outstanding player, and when he's trying 100%, it is really hard to stop him.
Okay. He's not in my top 10. I don't know. I may just be biased. Well, I am biased. I feel like Jimmy Butler gets a ton of love, but that's just because someone very close to me gives him a ton of love.
Okay.
I think that's fair. So, but he's borderline top 10. I think that's
why I said everybody's 7 and below. I
totally
struggle
get
with
having him at 7.
or
and
he's at 8.
He was almost at. He was.
Oh, he's at 7. He's at 7. He's a 7. He's a 7.
Yeah, he's a 7. Yeah. I'm intrigued. You put Jimmy Butler after Shea. But yeah, that's fair.
It really was his dominance in a couple of those rounds, and yes, it did help that a couple guys were injured, but it seemed almost that he was inevitable at points during the year.
Yeah, that's my thing with Jimmy Butler is he's great in the playoffs, but I feel to be a great player, you need to do well in the regular season too. And make some flashy.
Yeah, but what's the goal? Is the goal to make the playoffs and then win a championship? Yeah. So I mean, I know you have Luka above him, but Luka didn't even make the playoffs. So do you have to perform in the playoffs if you don't make it? So
it's fair. Well said. Last time Luka was in the playoffs, so he was in the Western Conference Finals.
Well, last time Jimmy was in the playoffs, he made the NBA Finals.
Fair. Well said. Good point. But yeah, okay. I was not expecting that. But yeah, that's fair. I totally understand it. Yeah, I guess I'm turning myself into a Jimmy Butler hater. My 7 is KD. You had him at 10. It's so the next guy too. When KD has struggled with injuries because I remember we had the debate of KD being number 1, and it's just really fallen since then. But when he's healthy, there's no one else I would rather be. There are of course 6 guys I would have above him, but he would be entering in that top 5
easily.
Range. It's just the injuries, but I feel I would still take you above these other guys because I'm willing to risk the injury risk. If you're going to be injured, I'm cool risking it. That's why you're at my 7.
Who's your 6?
My 6 is LeBron. So LeBron struggled with injuries. He's been great. I feel I'd take him over KD. It was tough. I had KD above, then I flipped it, but it's the same thing. I'm gonna take the risk with LeBron. I'll take it, and I think you'll be better than KD, or I'll have a better chance with you on my team than I would with KD because I'd have to get 2 other superstars.
Yeah, I have LeBron at 9 mainly because of injury reasons and the fact that he didn't shoot well, but he's definitely arguable. For me, it's the top 6 that are really set in stone. I guess for you, it's top 5. I'll go into my 6 right here. It's Tatum. I know you have Tatum a little bit lower than me, but really the last quarter of Game 6 and in Game 7 against the 76ers, he really showed you what he can do. And when he's on fire, he's a KD-esque scorer. And he is a good rebounder. He can play make some, but he was an easy 6 for me, but there was no chance of me putting him above 6. But there also was no chance of me putting below. I thought he was clearly better than Jimmy, but I thought he was clearly worse than my number 5.
Okay, I think that's fair. Yeah. I think Tatum's great. I just was viewing the high of KD and LeBron. I think I would take that over Tatum.
Yeah, but you do have to consider Tatum's been healthy, so
yeah, Tatum's been healthy. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's my 5.
So
yeah, Tatum's. Yeah, Tatum's right under those guys. So yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Um, do you want to
It's
say
me.
your five or my five?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
your
me. So my 5 is Stephen Curry.
Ooh,
I was really close between Curry and my next player. They were like we're going tier 7 through 10, 6 by itself, and then 5 and 4. I was really debating both, but I gave the number 4 player obviously the edge. Uh, Curry's dealt with some injuries, but man, you can't stop him when he is on fire. He's the best
yeah.
shooter ever, and that's not really even a question.
Yeah, and I that's why he's at my five too. It's when he has struggled with injury, but like I was talking about with LeBron and KD, when he's healthy, which being healthier than them, or has it been around the same?
He's been healthier than KD, but he's been less. He's been around the same
Because he had like
health as
half a
LeBron.
season where he was out.
It was a
Was
little
that
bit
like
less than half the season, but
okay?
that he was out. But him and LeBron about played the same. KD didn't play the last, much less.
Mhm. But yeah, when he has the ball and when he gets hot, it's incredible. And you saw that during the playoffs. Maybe not so this much this year, but last year when he got the Finals MVP, it was incredible. But he's lower here because of the injury too. Even though I can see for my four, I'll go right into it, is Luca. I can see someone having injuries and pointing out Luca's injuries, but Luca's just fantastic. He really was carrying the Mavs the entire first way of the season when it was just him. Then he got a second superstar, and then it kind of went all the way down from there because he's never really played with a guy like Kyrie before. Um, and he's got to figure that out. And he needs to get better at some levels too. He needs to get, I think, in more shape. And he probably needs to get better leadership. He needs to stop yelling at the refs every single time. So yeah, I love Luca, but there are things he can improve on to where he can become the number one player in the world.
I definitely think he is in that top upper echelon. We'll get to him sooner, but
Okay.
at 4 I have Joel Embiid. I can't trust Embiid to stay healthy. And that's the thing. Like, there's players that sometimes get hurt, like Giannis and Luka. I put in the same category of sometimes they're going to be out, but when the biggest games come up, they will play. And so I don't have that trust with Embiid. Embiid missing key games early in the Boston series that cost him some wins, and I just don't know if I trust him fully. But he is a great, great, great player when he plays. And while I don't have him as the MVP last year, I understand the conversation.
Yeah, I'm not an Embiid person, but I have him at three because of last year. He won the MVP. I felt that gave him the edge over Luca, but I totally understand the argument. Oh, Luca beforehand. So I just think of the MVP and the type of season he had, but he does struggle with injury. So the MVP really put him above Luca for me because I go year by year basis.
Yeah. I go year by year as well, but I don't think somebody else's award is going to change my mind. So
Gotcha.
I feel like it is important to distinct that between uh what awards somebody gets and like Andre Iguodala winning the Finals MVP. Like that does not mean that he is a
Yeah,
top
that
10
doesn't
player
make
that
him.
year. So
But yeah,
I kind of avoid that, but I
yeah,
think it's
there's
pretty
a
clear.
give and take. Yeah, and
Yeah,
and I'm also a little bit angry with Luca sometimes, so this could be because of that. But we're pretty
understandable,
close.
understandable. It's out of love though, right?
Yes, it's out of love because I know what his potential is, and he's not reaching it.
Yeah. Well, I'll go into my 3. It's pretty clear who my top 3 are. Maybe not the order for the top 2, but uh, my 3 is Luca. What he does with the ball sometimes is just masterful. The only thing is he's not in that 1-2 conversation. He isn't really all that close, and it's mainly because of his actions, his choices to derail his team's game with the tech, or decide I'm going to get the ball with 5 seconds left, and then take 2 dribbles, step back twice to my right, and then take the craziest shot I've ever seen on live television and hit the backboard and miss for game-winning shots. And it's just bad basketball. And I don't know if that's because Jason Kidd just wants to go for Luca, or Luca says, "I got this, coach. Give the ball to me." It's just I need to see more from him in those biggest moments, and that's what these top 2 have that Luka lacks.
And we have the same top two. And back to Embiid. Embiid at threes probably is high for me. But they're I already went over the conditions. And with the other two guys, you can see them play well on defense. There are very few times I think Luka plays well on defense.
Yeah. And Embiid has good moments on defense. Again, it's just injuries there. And Jokic is, they say he's bad at defense, but again, he's not. He plays well on defense.
You see the plays he did during the playoffs. I was like, dude.
The shooting percentage against, or field goal percentage against, 38.9% of the rim, or some crazy low number. He's not a great defender. He's not a top 25 defender in the league, but he is good. And that's because of his intelligence and play. But we can go into my top two.
Effort. Yeah.
Yeah, effort. That's a good way to put it.
Luka doesn't put effort. But yeah, and Jokic probably put a lot more effort in the playoffs where it mattered for defense. Like he had some great strips. So yeah. I'll let you get into that.
Yeah. But look, I told Kevin before we did this, just as a disclaimer, 1A, 1B, I can't really decide. I do right now have Giannis as the better player, but it is so minute. I'll probably tomorrow I'll wake up and say that Jokic is better, and then the next day wake up and say Giannis is better. I don't know. And Giannis is better. I've said this before in a previous video. Giannis is better at defense, but Jokic is better at passing. But Giannis is better at finishing, but Jokic is better at free throw shooting and 3-point shooting. And Giannis is better at perimeter and interior play. It's just whatever the one does, the other one has a match. And I need a Jokic Giannis finals at some point in their prime, please, NBA. I would love to see that. I would love a Western Conference final between Luka. Look, a perfect Eastern Conference, Western Conference final. Our top four. I mean, we have them. Jokic versus Luka, Embiid versus Giannis, and I mean, unfortunately, of those top four players, we have one missed the playoffs while Giannis got hurt. Joel Embiid is always hurt, and Jokic won a championship. But we've seen those big time moments from Jokic and Giannis. When I think of Giannis's block at the alley-oop, or I think of Jokic's step back 3-pointers, both of them against the Lakers in Game 4 that nailed that series tight. Both of them are amazing. Both of them are European. I don't know if that has a part of it. I mean, all of our top four.
Top four is European.
No. Embiid's from Africa. All four are from overseas.
International, yeah.
International, yeah.
Yeah. Not American.
Yes, not American. I do think a Team Europe team would whoop Team USA.
That'd be fantastic. That'd be great. But yeah, so I'm flipped the other way, but I totally understand that it's minute, and the thing that pushes it over is just Giannis won the finals.
You mean Jokic?
It's kind of that award, huh?
You said Giannis won the final, yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Jokic won the finals and got the finals MVP. Kind of similar with the Embiid Luka thing, except, they're similar, except the Jokic and Giannis one is so much closer.
I don't want to be recency biased. And I think Giannis's injury is the reason why they lost to the Heat. He was obviously not 100% in that Game 5. And while that is part of it, is injuries. But I feel like Giannis playing through that shows me a lot more than Embiid ever has. So I don't. There is no right answer. I don't know. If you're asking,
if you have these two guys in, it's a good answer.
Yeah.
It's the right
answer. If you came to this video wondering, honestly, just wondering who's the best player, I can't tell you. I don't know.
Yeah. Because I was thinking, I was like, "Ooh, do I put Giannis?" Because Giannis is a better defender, but
Jokic is a better passer, way better passer.
Jokic has had some incredible seasons.
So Giannis has had some incredible. Both have 2 MVPs and 1 title.
Yeah. And the more recent MVPs are Jokic, but the ones before them are Giannis. So I totally get it, and it was. I kind of lean into recency bias when doing these top 10s. Because I'm very year to year basis. So I want to change next year.
I think I get that, but also I wanted to. I think I do take a big picture.
Yeah, you take a bigger picture than me, which is good night. It's good. But there are also some other times where I'll go, this guy has done it before. I'm going to give him the chance to do it again.
Yeah, these are the
Sure.
last 4 MVP awards before, or 4 straight MVP awards were Giannis, Jokic.
Yeah.
And I thought Jokic should have won this year. Maybe
I
it should
thought
have been
Giannis
Giannis.
should have won
Yeah,
it this
I mean,
year.
it's so razor thin. I don't know, honestly. Again, there is no right answer. If this was a test, I would guess because I don't know.
Yeah. So here's how I would say it, because Embiid and Luka are close together. Then there's a gap, and then there's Giannis and Jokic.
They're in their own.
They're on their own, which
yeah,
is
tier.
a 1A that work. 1A, 1B works. That makes sense. So yeah,
I wanted to create that gap, at least
there. Yes,
metaphorically.
yeah. There's a gap between Embiid. Embiid is not pushing Luka. Luka can get there, but he has to do a lot. He has to.
Neither of those guys are challenging right now for the top spot.
Yeah.
They have work. I don't even think
I
Luka
can
winning
see
MVP.
Luka get there.
Even if Luka
Maybe.
wins an MVP next year, he's not my number one player unless he does something I've never seen before. Because unless Giannis and Jokic fall off as well. If Giannis and Jokic still play 100% and Luka plays amazing, wins an MVP, Giannis and Jokic both have 2. Like, it's that continuous success and going to the playoffs. Because Luka had his best statistics this year, but they were not even a playoff team. Like, I can't give that credit.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, like you said, if Jokic and Giannis continue to play at the level they are now, and Luka plays better and does what I want him to do, I'd still have I'd move Luka to 3, and maybe he's closer. But yeah, it's 1.
There would be less of a gap, but I would still have these 2.
Yeah,
what they can do on the court, there is no answer.
They've done it longer.
Yes.
Even though, so I'm kind of going back on myself, but they've done it for a while. But given the quick and that laser thin area, I flipped it. But yeah, so
there is, like I said, I'm totally fine with that. There is no wrong answer. There is no right answer. I don't know.
Just as long as these 2 are the answer, you can't go put that.
Oh,
so,
yeah, there's a question on the test and it says who's the best player in the NBA, but the only 2 answers are Giannis. A is Giannis and B is Jokic, and I don't know the right answer.
Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler is wrong.
Yeah.
Man, I'm turning into I am really becoming the villain. Jimmy Butler. But yeah, so very intriguing list. You and I stayed relatively close. The only difference is Butler versus Halliburton. And like,
yeah, really, that is, yeah.
Which I understand. Like, I understand having Jimmy in the top 10.
That is probably a little bit of my recency bias, but also he's historically been good in the playoffs, and we haven't seen Halliburton in the playoffs yet. And I think that playoff success definitely is going to impact my ranking.
And I feel Jimmy gets a lot of love, even though that's not true. But yeah. So that's all we got. Let us know what you think. Thank you for listening to Outsiders Opinions.